So, can you tell me about yourselves, please?
Okay, I'll go first. My name is Sarah Laurie, and I am the producer of Timeless, which is going to be running at the Haldane Theatre at Surgeons Hall as part of the Spaces programme this year from the 12th to the 24th of August.
That's great, thank you.
And I'm John Raymond, and I'm the performer of Timeless, which is going to be appearing at the Haldane Theatre, all those dates that Sarah's just said. Shall I tell you something about Timeless itself? Would that be useful?
Yes, please. That was my next question.
There we are. So yes, Timeless, it's a solo show written by a brilliant writer called Brian Coyle, who's a friend of mine, which he wrote sort of it sounds a bit big-headed to say he wrote it for me, but he sort of emailed me one day after I'd worked for him once before saying, John, I've got this play, would you like to do it? So and it's basically about a guy called Martin who is a London cabbie, who drives a black cab or drove a black cab and has the knowledge. So he has all that encyclopedic awareness of where all the streets are and where to go and all that. In 2008, Martin went to the dentist and something happened, we don't know what, but he lost the ability to make new memories. So every morning since then, he wakes up thinking it's still 2008 and he's going to the dentist. Every single morning since 2008. And it's basically the story of how he comes to terms with discovering his life again every day, and how his family are affected by it, and all those sort of things. And on top of all that, although he can't make new memories, he's still got the knowledge. That perfect awareness of London is still there, but he can't learn anything new. It's a sort of stream of consciousness through one day, and interspersed with other streams of consciousness of similar but not quite the same days to give it sort of the colour of how his life progresses.
That's great, thank you. So, have you ever done the Fringe before? And what advice have you been given, sort of thing?
Shall I go first? Because mine will be quicker, I think. I've done the Fringe once, many years ago. It was an okay play. It wasn't one of the world's greatest plays, but it was great, and I had such a wonderful time. But that was easily 15 years ago, and I've not been back since. Very excited to be bringing Timeless, because Timeless always felt like an ideal Fringe play. That's my one.
And latterly, I've become heavily involved with the Fringe. So this will be my third Fringe in a row. Very much sort of like enjoying this kind of like post-pandemic landscape. I think we've had a real sort of revived appreciation for live performance. So when I went back to the Fringe in 2022 with a play called Assisted, I felt this real appetite for theatre that perhaps we'd all been taking it a little bit for granted prior to lockdown. So the last 2 summers I've presented work. Last year I performed, produced and directed at the Fringe, so I had 6 shows there in total. This year, I know, glutton for theatre. This year I am producing 3 plays, of which Timeless is one. So it's really nice to go there with a package of productions, because you get that sense of a little community, and certainly helps with the flyering.
So what would you say the most challenging thing about performing at the Fringe is, or being involved like producing?
I mean, I'll just quickly answer that. I will let John speak, of course, as well. But I think it's about just standing out. You've got over 3,000 offerings, ranging from cabaret to comedy to kids theatre, to straight drama. And it's about having something that feels like a USP to stand out in that very crowded marketplace. It's definitely a kind of buyer's market rather than a seller's market. So my sort of job as a producer is to find what it is about these shows that's going to make them be the one that people choose. So it's about really finding your audience. It's about packaging your play appropriately, and marketing it accordingly. So, but my advice is to really think about what it is you're offering that's different, to the rest of that very busy terrain.
Okay. Sorry, I'm talking over you there. From my point of view, I'll tell you what I think is the most daunting thing for me, really, is just it kind of overlaps with what Sarah said. It's the sheer scale of the thing, being part of something that is so immense, going on for such a long time, and to be blunt about it, is so incredibly expensive to put things on. It's one gets used to doing fringe theatre in London Fringe and other fringes, and they're by and large, they're a cheap way to get theatre on. The Edinburgh Fringe is quite the opposite. It's just more in everything you do. More money, more audience availability, more difficulty in getting audience into your venue. It's just more, really.
I would agree, John.
Good.
I'm trying to get up to Edinburgh this year. Like, just for 3 days, I think it's costing me like close to £700, which is a ridiculous amount of money. Like, it's so expensive.
Mm.
It's just what
I think they know. I think the good people of Edinburgh, not to disparage them at all, but like, why not? I mean, they have an absolute stranglehold over us, visitors. So for the month of August, I think everything just skyrockets in terms of affordability. Certainly accommodation is the one thing I think it's important to get sorted ahead of time, because you can just hemorrhage cash that way. You don't want to be sleeping, on a floor, especially for John, who's performing. You really do need your creature comforts to be match fit every day.
It's probably going to be me on the sofa, though, isn't it? We've already talked this.
Probably.
But it's interesting you're saying about the people of Edinburgh. In a way, I think it's kind of fair dues, because for years people have been invading their city and getting in their way, and for 4 weeks of the year, suddenly they're a tourist trap beyond the dreams of, or beyond the worst nightmare. So I think it's fair that they charge people for the privilege.
I agree, and I think they're probably breathing a sigh of relief come September to have their city back, because it's absolutely overrun for that month. And also, it's just such a wonderful city anyway. One of the things I hope to do this year, I didn't really manage it last year because I was attached to 6 shows, is actually to experience Edinburgh as a city and maybe do some of those touristy things and climb Arthur's Seat and really enjoy the city.
What would be your top 3 items that you must take to the Fringe, like a portable phone charger, etc.?
Ooh, that's a great question. I'm a bit of a believer in the old bum bags. I know they're not very fashionable these days, but like, you really want to be hands free. You're sort of out and about on the streets. You need your flyers handy, you need your phone handy, you need your keys, so actually a bum bag would be one of my top tips.
Here's one.
Yes.
How about comfy footwear?
Because those cobbled streets are challenging.
Yeah, I wore proper walking boots last time, which were protective, but not terribly comfortable. And I was only there for in total about a week in 2 short days, and I came back just with feet completely full of blisters. It's just hard work,
And also the third item I'm going to say, and this is me just promoting Timeless in a very stealthy way, is a card reader. So one of the things I developed last year, and we're emulating with Timeless, is we've actually had the play published. So we're going to be just, not a hard sell, but if people have enjoyed the show, we're going to be positioned outside after the performance, and people can buy this play script at a much reduced price from its registered retail price. So like a card reader is great. Also, I know a lot of people want to sell maybe a little bit of merchandise. So a portable card reader means you can actually create a little bit more revenue on top of your ticket sales by selling some add-ons. So that's my third item.
That's a really good idea. That's the first time anybody I've spoken to that's a really good idea.
It's lovely. Yeah, last year, because one of the shows I did was a one-woman show which I performed, and it was a really, really nice thing. A lot of people wanted to revisit the play, read the play. I was able to chat to them about it, even got to sign some copies, which made me feel very famous for the first time ever. And yeah, it's just a nice little bit of audience interaction post-show.
Well, what would you say is your sort of top tips for flyering? Are you doing anything different? Like I've spoken to people that have done like beer mats in the past. Is there anything that you plan on doing?
Do you want to talk about t-shirts, John?
Yeah, if you like.
And
Well, I've got
badges?
we've got well, we haven't yet. They're about to arrive. Customized T-shirts, which have got basically the flyer on the front and the QR code for the show on the back. So if somebody wants to know more about it, well, just turn me back on them, and they can just scan me back and get all the details just like that while we're flying. I think I've done before that as well. Rather than wait for flying up in Edinburgh, I've had some little business cards printed, which are kind of like a little teeny miniature flyer, which have got both the main show in Edinburgh and our previews on the back. So if somebody asks me about the show before I go up there, I can just say, "Oh, have me card." You know, they've gone down quite well actually. And they're
Yeah.
much easier to carry in your pocket than a bunch of flyers are.
And I think I found last year quite a lot of people were declining flyers because they want to be paperless. So rightly so, quite a lot of people want to be a bit more environmentally friendly. So they were like, I don't want to take a paper flyer because I don't believe in printed marketing. So again, having that QR code readily available is great. A lot of people use the Fringe app. My other top tip for flyering, and this is something we're working on, basically putting together a spreadsheet, is finding shows that have a similar audience to ours. So really identifying people who maybe are in the market for seeing solo shows, for seeing quality drama, finding when and where those shows are happening, and then exit flyering as those audiences are leaving and saying, well, if you enjoyed this show, you may enjoy our show. And exit flyering worked super well for me last year. You know, you just identify, you can even look for filters like, is my show a horror piece or a sci-fi piece or an LGBTQ plus piece? And then you can easily, with the filters, find other shows which have a similar demographic in terms of audience.
That sounds like a really good idea. I think I saw something similar. I think I saw a post about that on Twitter. I think it was a couple of days ago. That is this a great way to help sort of other people as well. So that's really
Yeah.
nice.
Promo swaps as well, like reciprocal marketing. There's absolutely no cost incurred in teaming up with other shows and, you know, blowing their trumpet in return for them blowing ours. Again, it helps to create a bit more of a sense of a community, and you can champion other people's work reciprocally. So social media is great for that.
And of course, once we're up, all the other people in under your banner, as it were, Sarah, we'll all be working together to flyer each other's shows anyway. So we've got a bigger team, as it were.
Absolutely.
The community aspect of the Fringe seems absolutely amazing. And the social media as well. I put up posts. I remember I started my blog last year in June. About a month later, I put out a post saying I'll do like interviews. I got hundreds and hundreds of like inquiries. It was just crazy. I thought I might get about 2 or 3, but it's like that's now why I have sort of a way to do it, because otherwise I'll not reply for about a year or something.
Yeah, I bet you were deluged. I mean, there's just so many people wanting to make work at this level, and it's fantastic that you are offering, you know, a platform to the likes of us to help spread the word. So thank you.
That's okay. I really enjoying chatting to like everybody about theatre, because like my day job is retail, which is completely different. So, so going on to more like theatre related stuff, what would you say your most memorable experience has been?
At the Fringe or full stop?
In general, like what's blown your mind that you've sort of like taken inspiration from?
Whoa, that's John. Yeah, you first.
Okay, the one for me would have been I did a play. I did a play twice for two different companies a few years ago. Did Journey's End. First of all, for a company called Immersion Theatre, who took it all over the UK, and we did brilliant shows. It was a really, really, really good tour, really good. And somebody saw us doing it, and basically hired half the cast, and took the same play in a different production out to Belgium, to Ypres, and we performed Journey's End, a World War One play, on Remembrance Day in Belgium, right where the trenches were, and it was one of the most extraordinary things I've ever done.
Wow.
So that's the thing that stuck in my head. Really, very proud of that.
I can imagine that seems like such an sort of achievement and an
Yeah.
unexpected one at that as well.
Yeah,
Sorry.
an unexpected.
Oh, unexpected.
Mm.
Yeah. It was unexpected to me as well. I had no idea it was going to happen. It was just extraordinary, really. Anyway, sorry, Sarah, you were going to say.
Well, I mean, I could probably speak for like 10 hours on this singular question, but I won't. But I think one of the things that maybe stands out for me, talking about like fringe theatre and how important it is as a springboard, the example I always give is a play I did at the White Bear, tiny low budget production of a new play which we performed for 5 nights. That got picked up, this is a couple of years ago, got picked up by Bill Kenwright's people, ended up going to the Other Palace near Victoria, ended up going to Theatre Royal Windsor, and then last year we enjoyed a full run in the massive Assembly Rooms ballroom. So I think anyone who sort of bemoans pub theatre as just a sort of like a little bit of a vanity project or something to sort of fill your time, it really can, on occasion, not just be an end in itself. It really can be a means to an end. So I'm a real like champion of fringe theatres and pub theatres, because they do open doors. If the work is good, it can take you to bigger and better places, which is lovely.
100%. Like all of Mischief's work and like Six as well, and a couple of other things as well. It's just so nice to see it have a further life.
Yeah, and I mean, look at Edinburgh Festival, Fleabag, much more recently Baby Reindeer, controversial though it was. You know, wouldn't have happened. And yes, you can. It just proves you really can stand out in that crowded marketplace if the work is good. And then Netflix comes calling. So yeah, have to keep the faith.
We can hope, can't we?
We can. Timeless, the international tour.
Ooh, yes, please. Yeah. It's a cheap show to put on, assuming you're not doing it at Edinburgh, of course.
So, who would you say your theatre heroes are?
That's a tough one. That's a very tough one. I probably it's a bit of a cliche now, but I'd say Ian McKellen, just because he's such a survivor. You know, he's just kept working and working and working and working. And he's still as much of an irreverent old sod as he always was, which I think is wonderful.
I can't. You might have to come back to me on this, but I think a broad answer is a bit like John's. Can't think of a specific person, but anyone who plays the long game, anyone who sort of like just keeps on. And I think just that longevity and that presence and that refusal to sort of give up is really noble. I remember meeting a friend, it was about 10 years ago. I was doing a show at the Hope, which is where I'm sitting right now. and we actually shook hands and said, we're lifers. We are lifers, like through thick or thin. And I've never forgotten that handshake, you know, that I'm going to just keep trying. And I don't even really think that there's a end goal. I read an amazing interview. Anthony Hopkins, he's going to be my hero. I read an amazing interview with Anthony Hopkins, and he is someone who just absolutely is always looking forward, always moving forward, and has never had a sense of having made it. Because he did an interview where he said, you know, what does it mean to get to the top of the tree? Like, which tree? How big is this tree? Like, what does this even mean? So I think it's those people who just stick with it, because it's a very, very precarious, difficult career in any capacity, design, writing, directing, performing, because so many people want to do it.
So going back to your show, who would you say your ultimate audience member would be? Who is this show for? Sort of like a pitch sort of thing.
You're probably better at that than I am, Sarah.
Yeah. I think this is a show, I don't think it has any specificity in terms of like age or gender. It's a very relatable story. It's a human interest story. I think it will appeal to people who enjoy quality drama. It will appeal to people who enjoy a bit of a psychologically complex narrative. The way it's written, Brian Quill's done a fantastic job, is it's almost fragmented. So you're almost inside Martin's head as he is trying to piece together what's happened to him. You as an audience member are also on that journey, piecing together this story. And it's actually very satisfying to watch when you realize you've kind of got it. So it has that. It's quite a lean forward in your seat kind of a show. But I think it has sort of universal appeal in terms of its themes, because we can all relate to what it must be like to be in this predicament. We can all relate to like family dynamics, and yeah, the sort of those universal themes. That means it isn't sort of in a ghetto, I think, in terms of audience.
Yeah, I was very struck when we the last time the play was out and about. We took our mini tour. We went to the lovely 53-2 in Manchester, and on one of the nights, we had a huge number of students in who would have been, I don't know, late teens, early 20s. And for all that the play is about a guy about my age, so sort of late middle age-ish, you know, all of them were apparently blown away by it. I've had more feedback from them actually in person than from most of the people my own age who've come to see it, who have also loved it. But it's just, I was so blown away by people 2 or 3 generations younger than me just getting it. That's very, very impressive, really. Did I do that? Oh, that's good. You know?
It sort of must feel nice to, like, you must feel, I can't think of the word, like, it's not satisfied. You must feel, I can't think of the word. What I'm trying
There's
to
a sense
find.
of achievement, if that helps.
That's what, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. But it's because apart from anything else, as a one-man show, there's always that thing of every time you do it, you think, why am I doing this? I'm going to be sitting here just talking to people for what, 55 minutes, 50 minutes. And it goes like that. And you get to the end of it and you think, oh, I did that again. And it almost happens without you noticing. You switch it on and it trundles along and it does the things it's going to do, and your brain does it for you. And then you come out at the other end and you think, oh, there we are. And I love that feeling. Because it's a challenge. I love the challenge. So yeah, sense of achievement out of that. I love it. And that's the reason I took the play in the first place. When Brian first showed it to me, it was clear from the way it was written that it was going to be very challenging to learn in the first place, because it's all fragments and bits, sort of jigsaw. And because it's like nothing I've ever done before. I've never been on stage and just talked for 50 minutes on my own, ever.
Yeah.
Not many people get to do that. So yeah, love it. Absolutely love it. And of course, it's made for Edinburgh. It's perfect Edinburgh material, something like that. Perfect. So yeah, sense of achievement.
That's brilliant, thank you. And we're now coming to the end of all the questions I've got prepared. So in 3 words, why should people come and see the show? And plus, can you tell my audience where it's playing?
Ooh, 3
People
words.
should come and see the show because it's engaging, quality drama, that's 2 words, and relatable. And then I'll let you do your 3 words, John, and then also we need to tell you about our previews as well.
Okay, my 3 words would be warm, funny, heartbreaking.
And where can people see it?
Yes, they can see it at the Haldane Theatre at Surgeons Hall, which is right in the heart of the Fringe. And it's on the 12th to the 24th of August. From the 12th to the 17th, it's at 10:50 in the morning. And from the 19th to 24th, it's at 6:30 in the evening.
And if people want to catch our previews, we are performing at 8:30 p.m. on the 24th and the 25th of July at the Omnibus Theatre in Clapham.
That's great. I hope you have the best time. Let me know how it goes. I might try and do a follow-up sort of chat with everybody if I've got enough room in my diary, but I wish you the best of luck.
Thank you, Tim.
Thank you.
If you want to send me the press releases, like just so they jump up in my inbox, feel free to send them to me.
We will
And
do that
I'll-
right away.
Thank you so much. I'll speak to you all very soon.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's-
Bye.
Bye.